inheritance this afternoon. That's why we're moving. We're gonna pay all our bills off that we need to pay off, and then take a long vacation.
Less than 24 hours from this footage, Ina Thea Kanoyer's husband, Steve Riley, was life-flighted to the hospital due to a sudden sickness that immobilized his body. Within an hour of being at the hospital, he would pass away.
I thought everybody knew. I'm sorry.
Oh my God!
What the cop doesn't realize at this time is that Ina is a very good actor, and she knows far more about Steve's sickness than she leads on. You see, Steve was less than an hour away from cashing in a $37 million inheritance payment when...
God damn! 37 fucking million dollars.
he became fatally ill, and as the multi-week investigation would progress, detectives would quickly discover that Steve's death was due to poisoning. Someone had killed him, and everyone close to Steve all had dire need.
Fucking bitch. Fucking bitch. Hold on.
It's to claim his newfound fortune by any means necessary.
It was like 20-something million. Best thing you can do is to get on a plane and don't look back.
Police department! It's the police department, it's not Chad!
This body cam was recorded the night before Steve Riley's death. Steve and Ina's drunken neighbor had been harassing them and other residents of the neighborhood, so Ina called 911 to de-escalate the situation. What makes this specific footage interesting is not the situation with their drunken neighbor, but rather what Ina would tell police after. Her $37 million inheritance fund that she's just hours away from cashing in.
Sorry.
You thought it was Chad?
Yeah.
Who was
He's been
Chad on?
trying to kick in everybody's door.
Who was he
He
out
was
here
busted
fighting?
to my light. And look at the garbage cans.
Who was he fighting with out here?
My fiance. He went for a walk. Cool down.
Who's your fiance?
Walk.
Steve Riley.
Steve Riley?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your name?
I'm Ina.
Okay. Is your fiance hurt at all?
He got gash on his forehead.
Okay. You know, we just want to talk with him too, just to make sure he's all right if possible. There's blood all the way over there. That's good. So what actually happened tonight? What were they fighting over?
Chad was trying to kick in the door.
Just for no reason, or just?
Just drunk. He does that.
Where do you think your fiance would have went, so we could just get his side of the story real quick?
Oh, I don't know.
Does he got a phone on him?
No, we don't have a phone until this afternoon.
But this is where Ina reveals something she shouldn't have.
Damn.
Their plans to pay off all of their bills, which had over the years been racking up. And she does this for one reason: to brag.
He gets his inheritance this afternoon. That's why we're moving. We're gonna pay all our bills off that we need to pay off. His lawyer gets here today at 2 to sign the paperwork for his money.
Okay.
And then he's gonna go pay that. And his lawyer gonna pay the rest of his child support. And then take a long vacation.
According to Ina, Steve is set to receive an inheritance from his late uncle tomorrow, which supposedly is enough money to turn their lives around completely. What police don't realize at this time is how enormous this inheritance sum really is. In 2006,
37 fucking million dollars. Oh,
Steve's friend had received a call from a man named Marcus Riley, who claimed to be Steve's long-lost uncle from Ireland. He had explained that he finally wanted to get in touch with his nephew, Steve. After connecting with each other, Steve had learned he was in line to receive an inheritance upon his uncle's passing, which was a sum of over $17 million at the time. This was enough to permanently fix the financial struggles he and Ina had been dealing with. A couple of years later, 4 months prior to the footage you just watched, Steve would learn of his uncle's passing from a British lawyer who had contacted him. Additionally, he would learn that his $17 million inheritance had grown to over $30 million due to his uncle's successful investments over the years. That's why Ina cannot hold herself from boasting to the police. Tomorrow, they plan to meet with their lawyer to officially sign the documents and claim the $30 million inheritance fund. The two plan to take the money and live with Steve's long-lost family in Ireland, quote, living in the castles. In less than 24 hours, Ina will be rich. So as officers leave for the night, Ina would make one final statement about how her life was about to change forever.
If you want to step back inside, and then if Steve shows back up, we're going to try to look for him to get his side of the story as well. But if Steve shows back up, if you just want to give us a call or have him give us a call, we'll talk to him then, okay?
Yeah, he's gonna stop by anyways, like I said.
Sounds good.
I've only been able to put like $5 on his fines, but at least it was something.
Okay,
But-
sounds good.
We're gonna pay it all off, all at once.
Perfect, thank you.
Steve would return to his and Ina's apartment that night, and the two would patiently wait, not being able to sleep, as they counted down the hours until they would receive their millions. The plan to receive the funds was simple. At 2 p.m., the group would go to the airport to meet their lawyer, who was flying in with their inheritance paperwork. Ina and Steve obliged and would arrive at the airport alongside their two friends, Billy and Wes, before patiently waiting. However, while they were waiting for the lawyer's arrival, Steve would become extremely sick. He would claim feeling drunk, even throwing up in the airport bathrooms. His heart rate was rapidly increasing, and his condition worsened to the point where Wes decided to take him home to help him treat his sickness.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Oh, fucking hell.
Ina would wait at the airport for the lawyer to arrive. However, he would never show up. And after a couple of hours with no lawyer, no money, and a sick fiancé, she would return home as well. Everyone believed that Steve had suffered from a heat stroke as a result of working on his truck for hours that morning. But Steve's symptoms were far more fatal than the heat strokes he had received in the past, even experiencing fatal signs of kidney failure throughout the night. And in the morning, Steve would become completely unresponsive, forcing Ina to call 911.
911.
What?
Of your emergency?
My husband's really sick. He got heat stroke yesterday, and now he's
You
not
killed
waking
him.
up. And come on, wake up!
What's the phone number
Hey!
you're calling from?
I don't have a phone number. It's a phone that never got finished getting set up.
Wallahi, if I'm dying, she's dying with me. Long ass knife. And
Come on, babe. I've been trying everything. Ice, water.
Okay, but he is breathing.
Yes, he's snoring. He won't talk to me anymore. He won't look at me. He won't open his eyes.
Okay,
Babe!
I've got help on the way. Just keep an eye on his breathing, and if anything changes with his breathing, tell me immediately.
damn.
Hello? Yeah.
She is dying too, nigga. She is dying.
It's Officer Sullivan, Minot PD.
Inside the home, officers would
I
find
would've been having
Steve
this shit
fully unresponsive. They would drag him out of the house through piles of trash and filth. Quickly, he was rushed to the nearest hospital, but with his condition so poor, he would be flown to the St. Alexis Hospital.
React harder. How, nigga? It's the fucking dumb
To undergo more professional treatment. But before we get to that, I want to help you protect yourself and your family from something that can ruin your life: identity theft. Aura, the sponsor of today's video,
Aura.
helps protect his 920 foot with guarded inside and take those precautions. Photo at databreach.com out if any of your personnel would explain to the officers. After Steve was flown to the hospital, Ina would explain to the officers that Steve had gotten a heat stroke, which caused his illness. The officers had no reason not to believe her story, so they would comfort her throughout the day as Steve was
No free promo.
being
nigga.
treated. Unfortunately, Steve would never again regain consciousness. This
Steve,
is Billy
R.I.P.
Burkhead,
Steve in the chat.
Steve and Ina's neighbor, and he was with Steve
R.I.P. in the chat.
and Ina the entire day of his sudden sickness, even working on the truck with Steve and traveling with him to the airport. Billy simply refused to believe that Steve's death was caused by heat stroke, especially since Steve seemed perfectly fine all day until they reached the airport. Instead, Billy suspected something far more sinister and wanted to share his theory with the detectives. So, the day after Steve's death, Billy would call officers back to apartment 912A to detail his side of the story.
We think she poisoned him. Oh, I'm almost sure she poisoned him.
So what's your plan right now?
We're making sure nothing goes.
Yeah,
But
sir.
you know when they
Stand
got
on
shells
business,
and
nigga.
knives,
Stand on fucking
How
business.
long are you
That's a fucking man right there, nigga. He stand on that shit, nigga. The way you looking.
gonna stay here?
I'll stay here
She goddamn poisoned her. That goddamn filthy bitch.
till the sun gets here.
When's the sun supposed to get here?
I'm not dead. I told you.
He,
Stop!
He's not.
he's dead. And he was poisoned.
Billy's explanation for Steve's death is, well, horrifying. If Ina truly did poison Steve, then his symptom
Mountain Dew window cleaner. Is that a fireball?
would make sense, and would add up far more than the idea of him having a heat stroke. However, why would Ina want to poison her husband if they were about to live such a good life? Well, Billy seems to have the exact answer to that question.
Come on, Billy.
She throws all the stuff out in the yard.
From his house?
Yeah, and he come out and he was holding his head down. And then we're supposed to go up to the airport and meet this guy.
Bitch is sick, man.
Quite a bit of money. Come back, we had to help him out of the car, had to help him in the house. And everything was fine until he come home. And then the next morning, she's throwing all this stuff out. She was supposed to call the ambulance. She never called the ambulance.
Billy thinks that Ina was secretly planning to split with Steve after the inheritance was received, even going so far as to throw his belongings out of the house after they returned from the airport. Even worse is that Ina lied about getting help for Steve after they returned from the airport, pretending to take him to get treated, when in reality, they never left the house. Unfortunately, Ina overheard all of this talk and decided to give Billy a piece of her own mind.
Oh.
I'm taking off. I'm not worthy of my husband. Dead or alive.
Hey, stay out here. Hey, stay out here.
I need to take a picture.
Picture of what?
Billy.
Why is
Here,
it? Why
with
is it?
truck.
Oh, you can sit over here.
Steve collapsed yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the hospital. I found out he was poisoned.
How'd you find that out?
Doctor told me. I'm just telling you, son, don't ever stop after these people. They're nasty people. They're nasty.
Ina coincidentally seemed to put the blame on the neighbors, calling them evil people. It's become more clear that Steve's death was far more sinister than
Even Steve know. That bitch is crazy.
officers had first expected. Officers now had a potential homicide case to investigate, but as they went to leave, one officer accidentally broke the news to Ina that her fiancé had passed away.
I thought everybody knew. I'm sorry.
Don't tell me anything. Oh my God.
I guess his son is on his way here. Okay. Apparently his son is on the way here. So.
Your son better put them all in prison.
Yeah.
Ina's reaction to her husband's passing is one of the strangest I've ever seen. She starts bawling her eyes out, then suddenly jumps right back to her normal self, as if she hadn't even heard the terrible news to begin with. It's becoming more and more clear that something is not adding up. Billy was not the only person to initially put the blame on Ina. In fact, he was only one of many who would come forward with their concerns. In fact, Billy's wife, Lynn, had stated that Ina had made horrifying statements in the past, alluding that if she was to ever kill her partner, she would poison him using an antifreeze. To add to the pile of already incriminating information, Steve would be tested for ethylene glycol in his bloodstream, a key ingredient in antifreeze. To nobody's surprise, the results showed toxic levels of ethylene glycol in his system. This information would serve as the catalyst for initiating a formal homicide investigation into the death of Steve Riley. Following the commencement of the investigation, a series of intensive interrogations would be conducted with all parties connected to the incident, including Ina, to ultimately solve Steve's murder. However, before that, Ina would launch a plan of her own. It must have been made apparent to her that she was in hot water, as the day after this encounter with the police, she would call them back to apartment 912A to explain theories of her own.
Hi.
Yeah. He came up.
Okay, what's going on?
I don't know.
We've been here.
He keeps trying to take Steve's truck
Where's the truck at?
in the garage.
Is this the paperwork on the thing? Or?
No. This is property that Steve was buying
Oh.
after his inheritance got here. I think he left it to his son, but I had to Google where to go to get his inheritance switched over to the people he left it to. I don't know. The day he was supposed to meet his lawyer, apparently, I thought it was heat stroke. Apparently he was poisoned. I'm finding out. With antifreeze.
Alright.
And I don't know how to get a hold of the guy in London with his inheritance. He should be here in town. He never showed up at the airport, so, trying to figure out why.
Ina seems to conspire to the idea that Steve may have drank the antifreeze himself, or that someone may have poisoned him. However, despite all the suspicion being thrown her way, she can only stay on track for minutes before going back on tangents about her inheritance fund. It was clear at this point that somebody had poisoned Steve.
Apparently.
The idea of this being self-inflicted was unlikely, as Steve had a life-changing amount of money waiting for him, and would have had to drink the antifreeze just hours before going to claim the cash. Clearly, Ina can be made out as the lead suspect due to the amount of fingers being pointed her way, but the other potential suspects should not be ruled out either. With this in mind, officers would bring their first suspect in for questioning, Rebecca. Rebecca was another neighbor of Ina and Steve's who was very involved with the entire case so far, pitching her opinion to police whenever she could. Rebecca was brought in primarily to add to the pile of evidence to confront Ina with later, but as the interview would continue, strange red flags would arise from Rebecca's odd personality.
You guys know my daughter?
Kayla. Yeah, how's she doing?
Yesterday, God works in mysterious ways. She was arrested, released. She said, this is, the demons that are in her, the spirits that follow her, was able to change her butt cheeks. So maybe they'll stop following her now, she said.
Yeah, well, hopefully she gets the help she needs.
I pray she does.
Starting off a homicide interview explaining how demons left your daughter's butt is an interesting way of proving your innocence. But the detective isn't here to judge, rather, to get to the bottom of Steve's death. So he'll ignore these strange remarks.
Obviously, it sounds like you might know some things.
I'm a nosy neighbor.
That's good. I like it.
Well, I know what cars belong, what cars don't, who lives in my neighborhood, who doesn't.
Yeah.
So yes.
That's good.
The
We're
whole neighborhood
investigating
is crazy.
Steve's passing just because it sounds like maybe there's something
Yeah, I tell
suspicious
you
about
all
what
I
happened.
know, whatever
Yeah.
I know.
How long have Steve and Ina lived there that you know of?
Approximately 2 years.
Okay. How was their relationship that you know?
The first year was, Steve was looking great, doing great. The past year, I don't know if she suffers from mental illness at times, but her mental state went downhill the past year.
Okay.
When
Yeah.
you lose weight, when you're not acting right, shady stuff going on, you're not working. Yes, he was.
Okay.
And it got worse the past couple months.
Okay.
It seems as though Steve's life wasn't as straightforward as initially thought, having drug issues, weight loss, and possibly depression. Whether or not Ina was a large contributor to these